The 2009 stimulus package, of course, was supposed to create jobs was supposed to create jobs in order to stimulate the economy. But at least some of the companies that receive funds to create renewable energy projects may not have done that. Here with more details is Ianthe Jean Dugan. Hi. Ianthe, thanks so much for being here with us this morning. And tell us what your investigation found.
So there's a program called it's Section 1603 of the Stimulus Act, and it gave money to alternative energy projects. So, you could develop wind farms and solar projects. And part of the program was designed to stimulate, energy in this whole new industry. But everybody promoting it said, we need this money because it will create jobs, because that's the metric that people hear now.
Right.
That really resonates with taxpayers. So they've, really used jobs as a tool, and they've claimed on federal applications that they created 100,000 jobs directly at these projects that
but that's not actually
$10 billion.
The case you found. It wasn't 100,000 jobs.
Yeah, not directly. I mean, it's hard to find those jobs. We aren't sure exactly how many, but so we looked at how many jobs were claimed and promoted and how many were actually created, and we found a pretty big gap, which sort of points to bigger issues in the way jobs are counted.
But why is it so difficult to count jobs, right? I mean, I understand that you can have, some indirect jobs, maybe not someone, if there's a construction project, someone who's directly on the construction project and building it. Maybe it could be, that construction worker went to a restaurant in the town, so that's an indirect job. But why is it so difficult to count the actual direct jobs that are created from these projects?
Well, these applications they rely on the people getting the money, and there's a lot of confusion about how to fill out the forms and how to count a job. And so when, the Congressional Research Service last year tried to count these same jobs, they said, forget it. They told Congress to view any job creation figures with skepticism in this program because they found it impossible to do. And they said they were full of errors and confusion about how to count jobs.
Does that mean taxpayers should also take kind of any claims by politicians, whether it be the Republican candidates or President Obama, about job creation with a grain of salt?
Well, it does raise questions about where do you get these figures, very specific figures, and a lot of them are based on computer models that some people raise questions about, dependence on the applicants, which sometimes have motivation to overstate jobs. But these applications in particular you didn't have to create jobs in order to get this money. But yet there were a lot more jobs stated than we found. So.
And we've got on the screen now the top 5 recipients who received money from this program. That's a graphic from the story, and obviously you can find the story online. It was on the front page this morning. And Jean, tell us a little bit about you. I know Jean and I actually sit right next to each other, so I know that you did a ton of work on this story. Tell us about some of the people that you spoke with. You talked to a guy in Texas who had a really great quote. It was at the end of your story, and it was saying something like, "Look, yes, green energy is the way to go. Yeah. They shouldn't claim that it's about bringing jobs. They can say it's about green energy, but it's not about jobs."
Well, that's where the confusion comes in, is it was part of the stimulus package, and people thought stimulus, jobs, and a lot of these projects also got local tax incentives in addition to the federal subsidies. So people expected jobs, and they thought they were going to, get hired, and their whole community was going to be lifted. But sometimes these projects train groups of people. They don't then fire their whole staff and then hire and retrain local people. They bring them with them from job to job. So this, has turned into a disappointment for some communities that expected a huge boost.
All right, Ianthe Jean Dugan, thank you so much. You can check out this story online. Again, it was on the front page this morning, and read all the details online, WSJ.com.